So thank you everyone for joining us today. And thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. And I know this is a time of uncertainty for all of us, but we really wanted to provide an opportunity for coaches to connect online and to hear from you and answer any questions you may have. And that's why we're starting our first session with this Q&A. So feel free to ask us any questions and we will answer them to the best of our abilities or pass on some resources for anything that you inquire about. As I mentioned earlier, this session will be recorded and posted on YouTube for those who aren't able to join us at this moment. So feel free to pass on this information on to any coaches that you think would see value in it. And thank you again for joining us. My name's Kirsti. I'm the community coaching lead at CSCA. So anything to do with community coaching, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Although CSCA is closed at the moment, we are working remotely from our homes and we are available to answer any questions or help you with anything that you may need during this time. And with me today is Leo Thornley, who is the Director of Sports Science. So he will also be here today for approximately 30 minutes to answer any questions that you guys have. So if you have any questions, just use there's a raise hand option, I believe, at the bottom of your screen, or just maybe put a message in the chat box with your question, and we can always unmute you to ask the question if needed. And I will mute myself so Leo can answer questions, but I'm also here to answer any questions related to coaching.
Thanks very much. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Kirsti. I didn't realize you wielded that much power to be able to mute people and unmute people. That's pretty cool. Thanks for joining us on the first of these sessions. I think it's a pretty cool idea. I know it's a fascinating time we're in right now, and everybody's trying to figure out what everything means in the state of large-scale uncertainty. So I appreciate you guys taking the time just to connect as a group, and I look forward actually to these series of sessions, each one being a little bit different. And so maybe we'll just start this one by just reminding folks that we as the sport kind of world have a bit of a role to play, I see personally, as kind of leaders in our community. And so ensuring that the people that we would consider our direct contact group, our athletes and our fellow coaches, are at least following and heeding the guidelines that are out there. So making sure that the provincial guidelines are followed, making sure that the federal guidelines are followed. And if anybody has any questions on those, or if they're not familiar, I'll just pop those links into the chat box. Here is Nova Scotia. And if anybody else has any cool links or other pieces that they think are pertinent in terms of information sharing at this time, go ahead and throw them into this chat box. On the Podium does an update every 48 hours, which has been really useful. That's the Sport Medicine Advisory Council group. That's a group made up of, I've got their names right here, Dr. Mike Wilkinson, Dr. Andy Marshall, Dr. Susan Leclerc, Dr. Doug Richards, Dr. Brian Benson, and Dr. Patty McCluskey. And so that's the group of sports medicine folks across the country, from Canadian Olympic Committee, the Canadian Paralympic Committee, and then each of the Sport Institute networks has a chief medical officer. So they've come together as a group and offer updates, like I say, every 48 hours over the last 10 days or so, which have been really useful. Because while they also point out the federal and some provincial guidelines, they also highlight specific things regards to Sports Institute Network and sports. So, you know, if people are training, things they need to try to keep in mind and those kind of things. So if you follow us on various social media opportunities, then I'm sure you would have seen a number of these updates. I'll also pop in this one. That's the federal government one. What else we got here? I presume it's everybody's Nova Scotia. Don't need a New Brunswick one. Yeah. So in the most part, it's as you're noted aware, Nova Scotia wise declared that state of emergency, which means everybody pretty much stays inside, which has your added collection of challenges to it, particularly if you're with a team sport or the sport that needs to go outside. I'm not quite sure of how many individual indoor sports folks we might have here, but maybe they could help the rest of us at least understand a little bit about how to do these things successfully. So maybe I'll open it for any questions. There's not, how many we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 folks. Kirsti, what do you think about opening up mics? Like just opening up everybody's mics and seeing how we do on that.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. That should be good. Yeah, everyone's unmuted unless if you muted yourself.
Ah, okay. All right. So maybe I'll just throw the first question out there, which is really, how's everybody doing?
Good. We're
Nice.
hanging in here.
Anybody got any particularly useful tips for dealing with staying indoors as a family group or anything like that?
Nerf guns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we left the kids in the basement, came upstairs, we're doing some cleaning. We hear, Mama, come downstairs. And all of a sudden I just hear screaming. She opened the door and they just both started blasting her with Nerf guns.
Okay, so how much time does a Nerf gun buy you, do you think?
I don't know. He's still playing with it, so it's setting up some targets. Probably can get an hour.
Oh, wow, that's
maybe.
great. That's really good. I've had the good fortune of being married to a wonderfully organized individual for the past 16 years. So Natalie, my wife, who works at the hospitals, back to work, but she left us with a nice collection of activities to do. My little guy's 6 years old, and so we've been doing multiple different learning opportunities and activities and such. So if anybody's interested in any of those, we can post some of those links. It's actually amazing how many organizations have made things available for free right now. So like personal learning, we've signed up for a couple of adult course type things, but kids learning, if you're stuck for activities to do with kids in the house, we have a bunch of those links. Like, it's really cool how many groups have come up with free stuff right now at this period of time. Let me ask this: Does anybody have any questions that are rattling around in their minds about training and sport in particular, and challenges with their groups? Maybe tell us what you're actually doing. Like, give us an idea. What's the plan for the next week or so? What are the messages that you're sending out to your athletes?
So my group, we just scrambled to get home from BC. We actually landed in BC to find out that our nationals was canceled. That was on the 12th.
Oof.
They were still going to run provincials, so we decided that we were going to stay out there for a little bit. We went up for the first day of training and found out that they had pulled our insurance for events. So we were still allowed to run it as training, as like a coaching group. But the next couple of days, we weren't sure what was going to happen. We were allowed to run it as a mock competition, or what we called it a scrimmage. So the athletes still were able to race each other. It was a good time. But then came okay, now how do we get home before we were supposed to? Because we were supposed to stay out until the 21st. So scrambled to get home. And I think what worked really well for my group is making sure that everybody knew what was going on. Communication was key. So now that we're home, this April was supposed to be our down month, where they do rest and recovery. It's still active. So my question is, how do I keep them active while letting them do the recovery while they're stuck inside?
Yeah, good Good question. Thanks for the scenario as well there, Kristen. It's really good to hear the situation that you faced and is in. Maybe we'll see if anybody else has got anything to contribute on that, and then we'll come back to that as a question. Anybody else like to share?
It's Charlene here. The athletes are pretty understanding, and there's some plans circulating of some things that they can do at home. Some of the coaches, however, are reaching out that have clubs that because they're not using the facility, they don't have the revenue to pay for the clubs. So we're not sure. Like it's up in the air. We really don't have any answers for them because we don't know what's happening or how long this is going to last ourselves.
And what sport is that? Sorry, Charlene.
It's judo.
Ah, right. Okay, yeah. So there's a big lack of revenue coming in because classes aren't running and no money's coming in the door.
Yeah, and most of our clubs, this is the second part of the season, so they would be paying now for the rest of the season, and where we're not there, we're not collecting money, and nobody really wants to pay when they're not training either.
Yeah, sure. Yep. Has anybody come up with any novel solutions to that problem yet? Do you know?
Not at this time. We're kind of listening to Trudeau and seeing what he's saying about, commercial renters and we're kind of trying to get a little bit of direction from there. Some of us are not sure, where we're going to be after this is over. So, we're just hoping for the best right now and just trying to stick together and support each other.
That's great. Is it usually the clubs are kind of run by the people that also take the money, or are there employees of the clubs as well?
No, there's no employee. The only employee would be myself and then
Right.
Emily, but we're the only two in judo, Nova Scotia. It's all individual clubs that we run as either
Right.
non-profit or a business.
Right, and those clubs run classes that is their revenue stream.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a particularly big challenge, I'm sure. Very much so. We is anybody here from gymnastics? No, I don't think so. Yeah, we're members at the gymnastics club around the corner here, and we got a note at the beginning of the shutdown that kind of asked for some patience, and said we're actually still collecting fees because we still need to pay our coaches, and we're hoping that you guys are all okay with that. And so they actually started putting out just some videos of classes of how to try and stay, for the little ones at least, how to try and stay physically active and physically literate. I don't know if that's obviously a solution for all age groups necessarily, but they're trying their best on that front. So okay, that's it. Thanks for sharing that challenge, Charlene. I hope we hear some news at least in terms of financial support federally that trickles down and hopefully provincially.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any other situations they'd like to share or ask questions about? Or if anybody else would like to chime in on Kristen's question. Okay, let's go back to that one. So Kristen, your question was, how do you keep your athletes kind of motivated at the same time as kind of entering a recovery period, maybe a couple of weeks early, and having them do things that are productive and at least maintain some physical capacity? Is that right?
Yeah, so like this would be our active recovery period where they do things on their own. They go walking, they go biking, they are participating in the other sports to become like fully cross sport athletes.
Yep.
And when when everybody's shut down, they can't do all that stuff, and that's where
Yeah, that's particularly tricky. I don't know anybody who's got like those kind of facilities, at least. What is anybody else doing? I mean, I've got a couple of ideas for staying active indoors, locked in type training. But before I continue talking, what's everybody else doing? Or actually, if anybody has any cool ideas or links or videos that they like to follow on this topic, post them in the chat box so that people can take a look at them. What's your sense, Kristen, of your group? How individualized does it need to be? Are there some folks who are, say, a little more biking kind of folks who could do indoor trainer work, kind of are okay with the A to B, versus some folks who need to get out and hit the skate park? Like, how individualized versus group do you need to be, do you think?
I mean, it's like everything. They always push each other more when they're in groups, and I think that's where it's almost like the C10 do 10 push-up challenge that we've seen on Instagram.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to move towards that. Is like, you need to get on a stationary bike if you have it for X amount of minutes, trying to push X amount of watts, to challenge, like, have the boys always trying to one up each other, and then have the girls setting their own goals of how far they need to push each other.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's opening up some interesting opportunities. So I have the good fortune of being one of the exercise physiologists working with the canoe kayak national team, and so they were down in Florida for a training camp that was due to go from January all the way through April, and due to have their national team trials and Olympic trials in Georgia. That all got basically kiboshed. This week was due to be testing week, so we were due to be down there to see if we were actually making progress. And so they've canceled that. Everybody came home. Everybody's in 14 days of isolation. And so what we've tried to do with that team is offer 3 times a week. Darren Steves, one of the strength and conditioning chaps, is doing an online core training session. So the whole team can log on Zoom, just like this. You have your tiles, and he leads the whole team through a core session 3 times a week. I'm sure there's maybe some creative opportunities with our S&C team. I think tomorrow Jeremy's doing a little piece on that. But maybe there's some back and forth communication you can do to figure out what classes you can run in a virtual setup. Kind of like the Peloton idea without having to pay the subscription fee. So I know there's a lot of resources out there, but maybe lean on the S&C folks for kind of curating those resources and maybe helping out and running 1 or 2 of them. I love the idea that keeping the challenge piece going while trying to temper at the same time that it is, you are heading into an active recovery piece. So maybe you don't want to have a competition every day, but maybe 1 competition a week would be a cool thing to do. Kristen, what do you think what do you think the biggest threat is to this particular period of time for your group?
The biggest threat is, how long is this going to last? I mean, that's kind of what we're all going through. Is if it's just a month, then it won't hurt us, because this is my downtime anyway. But sports that are, this is their main season, or this is their leading up to their main season, like, I couldn't even imagine. Like, soccer, this is probably just ripping them apart.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. There's a certain element of somewhat fortunate timing for you guys, and so then the biggest challenge is the uncertainty of not knowing when this period's gonna end, and that's okay. I mean, just acknowledging that there is uncertainty and acknowledging that we don't know when the end is, and discussing those things is a really useful thing to do. it's a challenge for some of us who are type A planners, but getting used to that level of uncertainty can be good. And trying to find a routine as quick as possible. Like get into a routine and try and keep that routine. And if you need help from the IST folks that normally help your group, let's do it. Let's reach out. Let's do cooking classes. You know what? Let's do a regular S&C session. Let's do a yoga class. Let's do pieces and get together via Zoom or whatever mechanism it is as a group to kind of do that. And maybe some of those things aren't all physical. Maybe some of those things are social in nature, right? Just get together to discuss a particular, I don't know, snowboarding documentary or something, right? So you can say, hey, 3 o'clock, everyone's gonna watch it. 4 o'clock, we're all gonna hop on and we're gonna chat about it, right? Finding ways to connect on those topics could be kind of cool. And then let us know what you do. Let us know how it works out. I mean, part of these sessions is to try and develop that community of practice so that people can share their ideas and share things that have worked and share things that haven't necessarily worked. From a muscle soreness point of view, doing lunges with rider on my back has definitely worked.
How's that working out for you? How many are you up to per day?
Well, it's as a part of the the classic app, the 7-minute workout. And so he's on my back. He's about 45 pounds. And so I'm doing 4 sets of about 20, and it's an absolute killer. He also is helping by going on my back during the planks as well. That's also a killer. So I don't know, I'm only on day 2 so far. I'll let you know, but the muscle soreness is building. Okay, Kristen and I have done a fair bit of the chatting. Has anybody else got any other questions or even just voicing the concerns? I mean, I really appreciated Charlene sharing those concerns. Obviously, we don't necessarily have a solution for it, but it's really good to know the challenges that everybody's facing. Okay. Any other insights or anything that you guys are looking for, or anything else that you've seen that might be useful? Just go ahead and post it in the chat box. Kirsten, you got any other questions or anything else in our final few minutes here?
Yeah. So thank you, Kristen, for that good discussion point. I feel like a lot of coaches are probably feeling a bit lost in terms of how to connect their athletes and get them staying active. I know I went through a similar situation as you where Nationals for Ring-Riders was to start in 2 weeks and those got canceled. So, a long 8-month season, you're training for 6 months and then it all gets canceled. So it's tough to keep your athletes motivated for next season when it ends so suddenly like that. So I think it's important to keep up with those challenges and keep them motivated in any way you can. So I encourage coaches to continue sharing all of these learnings and the practices that you're implementing right now. For the next few weeks or however long this social distancing in Nova Scotia does keep up, we're going to be running these sessions. We're aiming to have 3 a week, and every Wednesday will be something to do with working out. So tomorrow is going to be about a working out at home and like what to do. One of our weeks we're going to be running a yoga session. So we definitely encourage not even coaches, but encourage your athletes to get on those sessions as well. And maybe like Leo said, you can do a yoga session and then follow up with like a team meeting afterward, or just keeping engaged and through these tough times is really important. And we want to be able to support you as best as we can. So on that note, if you do have any ideas of potential presentations that we can host for you, like any topics, if you want to do like a kickboxing or something like that, like we can find ways to run that virtually for you. So please either email me or just write in the comments or talk to us right now about it, and we can write down any idea that you guys come up with.
Would it be possible to reach out to the sports and find out what they could provide, and maybe they could recoup some fees to deliver it? like judo, delivering a basic judo session to everybody, and then they could possibly make some money.
That'd be cool. Let me look into that. That's a good idea. Charlene, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let me write that down. So basically like a sports presenting a Judo 101 30-minute class. Okay.
Judo, gymnastics, soccer, like anything that you can still juggle a ball inside relatively safe as long as nothing's breakable. And anybody who has kids can do it everywhere in their house.
Yeah, or use a balloon or anything. Get creative. Yeah.
Yep. Some sports just won't be able to do it. Like it's going to be pretty hard to do like snowboarding inside your house unless you have a board or a snowboard.
Yeah. All right. Is there any other topics that people are interested in hearing about? For instance, on Wednesday night, we have Pat Cody coming on for 30, 45 minutes to talk about how he's been connecting with his athletes during this time. So he's become quite creative, and I think he's created some sort of blog to keep connected with his athletes. So that would be an interesting one for coaches. And then on Thursday, we have one of our dietitians, Angela, coming on to talk about keeping up with your nutrition while isolated. So kind of making the most of what little food you may have in your cupboards, or if you weren't able to grab that last package of chicken at Costco, because I know that was me. So I'm living on chicken strips right now. So I think that will also be a really useful talk. But if there's any other topics that you think would benefit you or other coaches, please let us know.
Cool. Okay.
All right. Yeah. So 31 minutes right on the dot. That's good. Okay. So again, guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'll be following up tomorrow with more information about tomorrow's session, but it will be the exact same Zoom link and Zoom ID. You can also call in if that's easier for you at this time. So tomorrow's session will be at 11 a.m. and that will be the workout one. And then in the evening at 7 p.m. we'll be with Pat. So come on here at least 3 times a week. It will be good discussions and a variety of topics. So thanks again for joining us.
Thank you for doing this for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we hope it was helpful, and please, any feedback would be appreciated. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kirsti. Good luck, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.